Did you know that if you have insecure attachment, particularly my fearful avoidance and my dismissive avoidance, you need to actually increase your window of tolerance for the happiness that you deserve to experience? Leslie Wells, Connection Coach here. I help individuals heal, thrive, improve, repair, and to connect more deeply in their romantic relationships by looking at things through an attachment lens. So particularly fearful avoidance and dismissive avoidance avoid their feelings. A big part of insecure attachment is that people do not know how to calm their nervous system. They do not know how to properly emotionally process and use their nervous system to be able to experience the full range of feelings with safety signals being paired to it, and they tend to want to run away from their feelings. So for the dismissive avoidant, that looks like suppressing, disassociating, shutting down, compartmentalizing, withdrawing. Essentially, they will push all of their feelings down and completely avoid them whenever possible because there's so much discomfort sitting in them. So a big part of the work of the dismissive avoidant, of course, is to be able to experience those feelings without running away from them, and to be able to experience the things like pain, grief, rejection, feelings of inadequacy, feelings of failure, feelings of disappointing people. These are things that deeply trigger the dismissive avoidant. The fearful avoidant may show up and appear to have very big, deep feelings, and they are often overreactive and unpredictable, and they will throw their big feelings out there. However, they also do the same thing and avoid many of their feelings. They have all of these big, deep internal feelings, but they never feel safe in them and don't properly emotionally process them. A lot of times they go into a fight response, and so the feeling is mostly anger that is coming up, and that's not the real thing. That's always the bodyguard of another feeling usually. And in addition to that, they spend a lot of time over intellectualizing, researching, and ruminating, essentially trying to outthink that which they really should be feeling. And so again, that's another way that they run from their feelings. They often will take their feelings, their internal experiences, and displace them onto other people when they lash out or show up in ugly, unkind ways. A lot of their other issues is that they tend to manage the feelings of others rather than actually feel their own feelings. So two things that I noticed with the feelings of the dismissive avoidant and the fearful avoidant is the fearful avoidant in particular, we try to get them to be able to experience their feelings differently and to be able to truly sit in those those uncomfortable feelings and deal with them. One of the things that I see that happens for fearful avoidance, when they get to a place of safety within their relationships, they actually do not know what to do. They have not built capacity for feelings of boredom, steadiness, and safety. Safety a lot of times is a trigger for a fearful avoidant. And with that safety really comes happiness. When they actually get to a place in their relationship where they are safe, where they are happy, where things are steady, where there's not sort of this up and down roller coaster that's occurring within them, they will go to this place of self-sabotage, and their brain will start automatically scanning for safety and trying to grasp for different evidence that they are actually on safe, and so they will interrupt their own happiness. They actually have not built capacity to experience happiness and safety and joy and comfort, mostly because it's unfamiliar for them and they haven't actually built that up yet, right? And for the dismissive avoidant, whenever you decide or subconsciously decide to suppress your feelings, right? They don't do that intentionally all the time. Sometimes they do, and sometimes they actually have really mastered this. But it usually starts from an unconscious place. For the dismissive avoidant, when you decide to suppress your feelings, you do not get to choose what you suppress. So if you're suppressing all of the so-called negative emotions, there's no such thing as negative emotions. They are simply there to give their cues, their signals. They're there to give us information and feedback, and we really should just get curious about them versus looking at them as negative or positive. They're just indicators of something that needs to be addressed. But whenever a perceived negative emotion comes up for a dismissive avoidant, you don't get to decide which ones that you suppress. So while you're suppressing rejection, disappointment, feelings of inadequacy or failure or grief or anger or whatever it is you're suppressing, you're also suppressing joy, excitement, happiness, thankfulness, gratitude. All of these things sort of get suppressed. And so the dismissive avoidants typically sort of kind of stay at this kind of like borderline depressed, just kind of going along, not really feeling anything in a big major way. And that's really sad. And so they also have to build their capacity to experience and feel good feelings and actually get comfortable in the discomfort of sitting in things that are meant to make us feel good. A lot of times partners of dismissive avoidance will tell me, I don't really ever see them get excited or happy. They're just sort of always, kind of slow and steady and at this just baseline of being okay, or things are just as is. Sometimes that goes back to our identity worth and worthiness wounds, because there's a lot of times where dismissive avoidance and fearful avoidance don't feel subconsciously that they are deserving of feeling happiness, and they don't feel that they're worthy of feeling happy. And this can come from their impact on other people, the impact or feedback they've been told on how they've affected other people, and it can go back to their own feelings of I'm unlovable, I'm unworthy, I don't deserve these things, along with some fears that I've never experienced safety and happiness before, and so therefore maybe it's just not for me, or it's not possible for me. And so it really is important for dismissive avoidance and fearful avoidance particularly to be able to increase their window of tolerance for experiencing happiness and joy and excitement and all of those so-called positive feelings, as it is for them to be able to increase their capacity for sitting in the so-called negative feelings, or the feelings that really bring discomfort for us and make us want to run or displace them onto someone else. So if you are someone with insecure attachment, know that this is actually part of your work, and that it's not just centered around the feelings that you wish to avoid, but it's probably also, your work is also centered around the feelings that you really desire more of, and those things that even though you desire it subconsciously, you're probably getting in your own way if you haven't done your healing work and are working to earn secure attachment. And a piece of that is increasing your capacity for experiencing happiness and joy and excitement.